Hi there and welcome back to the Message Marketing Pod. I'm your host, Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media, and this is episode 133. 7 tips for developing advertising messaging that cuts through the noise. How relevant is this, right? So let's get straight into it. Fact, advertising is important for any business, any size, any shape, any industry. This shouldn't come as a surprise, especially, for example, if you're, maybe a medium-sized Australian company or a large, corporation, Australian government office, or any other type of business, really. You already probably know the importance of advertising in its many, many different forms. There's a reason why advertising is a marketing staple. Ads create brand awareness, drive customers up the loyalty ladder, and increase sales. However, these are the same reasons why the advertising space is cluttered. For your advertising to actually earn the results you're looking for, you need to do 3 things. 1 is get the right brand message across. Number 2, get that message to the right people. And number 3, get the right response from the people who see your ads. Now, this all sounds pretty self-explanatory and stock standard, but we know from experience that it's easier said than done. Like if you've ever done advertising, you know that it's tricky. It's a tricky game and things change often, right? So in this pod, I'm going to discuss the key to company advertising success, which really comes down to what I call strategic advertising messaging or copywriting. I'll also aim to cover advertising complexities and how you can ace your brand advertising campaigns. All right, so let's do a quick snapshot of, I live in Australia, so here's the quick snapshot of the advertising space in Australia. I'm sure that if you're listening from other countries, I'm sure it's similar, but this is what it is, right? So before I delve into the intricacies of advertising concepts and messaging, here's advertising. So advertising across various industries has always been, and will likely most always be, a vibrant and competitive landscape. Businesses of all shapes and sizes constantly vie for their target customers' attention with creative and compelling concepts. Now, the recorded annual spending for digital ads in Australia in 2023 was $13.68 billion, and I'm expecting that 2024 and onwards is only going to get more and more. So it's important to remember that these customers, like the customers that you're targeting, and all of these businesses are targeting, are constantly bombarded with ads. They're seeing TV. You should be no different. You're a consumer and customer and a client as well. And I'm sure that, from LinkedIn and TikTok to TVs, radio, we're constantly bombarded with ads, right? So we're used to it now. So by default, you can assume that your customer is pretty much at the point where they're tired of being sold to. So it's no wonder why, people pay more for ad-free subscriptions. Look at YouTube, right? I don't know how you feel, but a lot of the time when I'm scrolling YouTube, it's such a downer when you open something and you're excited to hear some music or watch a video, and then there's 2 or 3 unskippable ads, and it's very frustrating, right? So there's a reason why people are starting to pay to skip these ads. Now, it doesn't mean that you should avoid ads. It just means that the bar is really high. Okay, so in saying that, today ads are everywhere. So how do you get yours to be memorable and have a memorable impact? Well, for anyone who uses brand advertising, remember this golden rule. The success of advertising is never only about the medium. It's about the message. And that's where brand messaging strategy for advertising comes in. Now, I don't mean like a catchphrase. What I mean is like a concept, an idea. It all revolves around communication. And while visuals play such a big part of it, it all does start from a seed of message. If you think about every advertising campaign you've ever seen that you've ever remembered, it always starts with a key concept. So yes, right, I get it. The default of when you say what's an ad, people will say a video or an image or some sort of visual. But if you think about it, the real skeleton upholding that is going to be some sort of words, and they come from words. Like, think about all the Super Bowl ads that you've seen, in that big American events, right? Or all the advertising that you've seen that's hit an impact. All of it starts from a key concept or a framework of messaging, and then it's built into a video or a visual with a tagline. And so that's what I'm talking about here is if you don't have a key, like a powerful message that's contextually relevant to your time and your customers, then it's not going to have an impact. So let's get down to it. So at its core, advertising is a powerful form of communication. It's a little bit forceful, but it is what it is. So an effective advertising campaign is typically backed by a smart strategy, which essentially covers everything from a conception of a main messaging idea, which is where copywriting comes in, and then it's built around then some sort of execution, like a radio ad or a visual. So to succeed in this advertising space, you need the right customer-centric strategy and brand message equivalent. This strategy should be rooted in a deep understanding of your customer and their pain points, and then, of course, your business and the advertising space. So with the right brand messages, your ads will not just get lost in the clutter, your brand will be remembered for all the right reasons. Again, think back to the campaigns that you remember. A lot of it comes from some sort of compelling tagline. I remember one that, was the KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken in Australia. One of the ads that was really, really popular was based on the song, like, I don't care, right? I love it, right? That's a voice, there's a message behind that. Now, sure, it leads and plays on and borrows from the song that they've adapted in there, but the concept behind it, the messaging was, it would have been, I don't know for sure, but can pretty much hazard a guess that it would be the fact that they went, okay, KFC, not the healthiest of options, but our research shows that customers do it when they just want to throw their hands up and have a fun meal. And so they've come up with, right, let's build up messaging around that. And then the song has been pulled from the original messaging, and then the visuals have been to match. So if you think about advertising, really what it comes down to is strategy around context, then the messaging, and then everything else that delivers it. So that's what I'm talking about here. So why invest in a brand messaging and comm strategy when it comes to your advertising? Well, here's the hard truth. Your customers are unreliable humans who only remember what catches their eye and is relevant in their world. So, I know I've spoken to a lot of marketing experts in this space, and they say that the average person typically sees around 4,000 ads per day and notices less than 100 of them and probably remembers only 10, right? So amongst these ads that your customers notice, they only remember a handful. And so they're the ones that they deem worthwhile. With market competition being this steep, you don't want to leave your success to chance, especially since most Australian media, like companies and businesses and all of that, we all invest a lot into advertising. And so the way to ensure that you'll catch and hold your audience's attention and interest, therefore, involves a powerful advertising messaging strategy that resonates with your ideal customers. So what does an effective brand messaging strategy in advertising look like? Well, as I said, the KFC one, I don't care, I love it, right? Look that up if you haven't seen it in a while. That is one that had a huge impact. Telstra, like one of the major telecom providers in Australia, their messaging was time for a chat. You don't need the best network until you do. So clever, right? Now, that messaging alone, when I'm just saying it to you, doesn't probably make much of an impact. But when they've stacked on the visuals and the logos and the taglines and all of those elements, it really challenges people to think, well, I'm not going to go with the cheaper carrier. I'm going to go for the more expensive one because when I need it, it'll be there. Do you see what I mean? Uber Eats, this was all around the world. Tonight I'll be eating. Right? Such a clever message. And it comes from, it's not just, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's only 4 words. But what it comes down to is knowing the customers, knowing what they want to stand for. It's quite complicated. And the ones that work are the ones that look easy in execution, but aren't. Right? If you remember the Snickers bar, you are not you when you're hungry, right? And they had like Betty White, replace a rugby player, right? So not all advertising messages strategies are created equal. Some are remembered for the reasons their brands probably didn't want to be remembered for, but most are for the right reasons, okay? So what we want to do is, the advertising lesson I'm trying to show you here is that good advertising traction comes from effective communications and brand messaging strategies. It's plain and simple. Of course, you want to get the most ROI from your advertising by making sure that it doesn't get lost in the noise, or worse, receive negative reactions. Fortunately, there are tried and tested ways to create advertising messages that help your brand remain top of mind for customers for all the right reasons. So here are my 7 tips to create an advertising message that cuts through the noise. The first thing is to know your audience by heart. Now, I know that everyone says this and everyone says, oh, I do, but you probably don't, right? I'll be honest. Most companies and advertising agencies and all of that, we don't actually think deeply about our customers. There's a lot of assumptions going on. So I know I do with my team. I regularly meet up and re-evaluate our customer personas and see if they're the right ones and see if we're targeting them the right way, okay? So to get your ads remembered, remember, you want your customers to feel like you're talking directly to or about them. Number 2, define your clear objectives from the get-go, right? So if you're doing advertising, it's dangerous if you go in going, I just want some traction, right? What you want to do is set some goals. Like, do you want to increase brand awareness and relevancy? Are you promoting a new product or service? Are you relaunching something, right? All of that must set out your actual goals and make them smart goals, because that will help you. You might be thinking, oh, but that's just a measuring device. No, it will help you put the right intention forward when you do your messaging. For instance, if you're going for brand awareness, that's going to be a very different message to relaunching something. So setting your goals up front is a really smart way of getting the right attraction, okay? Number 3 is highlight the problem you're solving. It's really important. Remember, benefits over features. It's all important to make sure that you are focusing on what you're trying to solve if you want to have traction, okay? Next thing is, number 4, appeal to your audience's emotions, because they tend to respond to that. Now, it's not always, we can't always put that, down to everything, but when it comes down to it, you have to know your audience's emotions and appeal to them if you really want to get the results that you're after. I mean, especially in the world of AI and generic content and very lazy marketing going on now, it's really important that you take the time to be focus on emotions and how you can really appeal to something, like feelings of desire, aspirations, things that tug at the heartstrings, all of that, maybe sense of humor, all of that will help them and help you influence their buying decision. Number 4, must use a powerful call to action and make it hard for them to say no to. Right? So it's really important. So many ads don't actually have something of executable tangibility, right? Make sure that it says book a meeting, do a something, right? And make the deal really viable, right? And really irresistible. So especially you can leverage FOMO, fear of missing out. That will help you, right? So, and I always say, try and use a verb like buy, sign, learn, explore, book, do something, right? Number 6 of 7, keep up with trends and seasons to remain market relevant, right? So you want to make sure that you're always being relevant when it comes to how you're advertising. Now, don't say you don't have to always jump on a trend or something like that, but it does really help you if you are adapting and staying current with industry trends and consumer preferences, because that will help you stay relevant to the time. Now, you don't always have to just follow a trend blindly. You got to make sure that you use this contextually relevant. So sometimes a trend might not fit your brand or fit your business, or sometimes you might want to buck a trend, but definitely make sure that you're taking it into consideration. And last but not least, number 7 is, of course, consistently monitor results and adapt to your audience responses, okay? So you must keep an eye on your performance. Now, it doesn't mean that you change every 2 days, right? But you want to make sure that you see what it is that is trending, changing, going up, going down, all of that will help you, because using analytics to track key metrics and adjust your messaging is really important, because, even responding accordingly to your audience's comments, that will help you stay ahead of the curve. Okay, so you've got to remember that advertising is ever evolving, but the need for strategic messaging will always be there. So if you need help, Melotti Media can do this. This is what we do with a lot of different clients from all different industries, from legal and finance to medical to products, e-commerce. We do a lot of advertising, messaging, and copywriting and all of that. So if this has inspired you and you want a bit of a consult session to talk through some of your messaging or start from scratch, that is what we do at Melotti Media. We help with advertising and advertising execution and advertising messaging to ensure that you get the cut through that you deserve and influence the customers that you want. So thank you so much for listening to episode 133. This was a little bit long, but I hope that you got a lot of insights out of it about how to develop advertising messages that cut through the noise. Well, I'm your host, Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media. Please subscribe or visit our website, melottimedia.com.au, and please join me in the next episode. Thank you so much.